Hi, David.
Yay.
Welcome, welcome. I'm glad actually, because everyone's still learning this new Instagram live thing. So the tip for everyone, don't go live on your laptops. It doesn't work yet. How
Good
are
to
you?
know. I'm
Yeah.
good, thank you. Yay.
Thank you so much, David, for accepting our invitation. It's
Sure.
such an honor to be talking to you today. We're going to give a little bit of an introduction about you, even though I've been getting a lot of messages from a lot of people here in the Middle East who are so excited to be part of this discussion. Now, it's a little bit of a tricky time now because we have Ramadan fasting, so we'll probably lose some of the viewers. Hopefully, they will be able to tune in and watch the recorded session, which we're going to have on our YouTube and on our Instagram pages. Quick introduction, if you allow me. Widely recognized as the world's leading authority on personal and organizational productivity. With more than 30 years of pioneering research, of coaching and educating some of the world's highest performing professionals. I think you earned a lot of recognition from Forbes, from Time Magazine. You've been one of the world's most influential thinkers, labeled by Fast Company. Your book, Getting Things Done, which is the methodology that we're going to be discussing today, has been labeled by Time Magazine as the defining business book of the decade. And you've been recognized amongst one of the top 5 executive coaches in the United States. I'm so honored and glad to have you, David. And I'm so happy. I think not, have this privilege of having you here in the Middle East and having the Middle East audience exposed to your book, to your methodology, and to the way you're going to help us manage better the way we are, being productive. Now, I think it's also very interesting because there is an effect of the pandemic on the way we are living, and your methodology is such a fluid and agile methodology that I'm sure will have a lot of aspects that will be easily adapted to the new way of life. So this is what we're going to be discussing tonight. And most importantly, and something I would love, and I found through my research, I would love to discuss is how to apply the GTD methodology for kids. So as a mom, I'm sure a lot of my audience will be interested to teach our kids early on how to be productive by managing stress in an efficient way. So I'm going to be all ears. I'm going to limit the number of my interventions because I want you really to give us all the possible tools and quick wins to allow us to navigate these tough times in a better way.
Well, a lot of the getting things done methodology that I discovered, uncovered, and codified is about how do you deal with change? How do you deal with surprise? And that's really where your systems are tested. Like, wow, things have changed. How do I now reconstruct, or how do I construct a way to stay on top of the world that I'm surfing instead of feeling buried by it? And so the getting things done methodology, it's highly appropriate anytime for any healthy people in any time that are even not surprised. I've spent thousands of hours, and we've trained, hundreds of thousands of people with this methodology that were not necessarily in the kind of, strange situation that we're in right now, but they still use that to great advantage as a way to be able to get more space, to get more room to think about the critical things and to get rid of distractions. So, a lot of my focus has been on freedom. How do I create freedom of thought? How do I get present with whatever I'm doing without being distracted about something I can't do anything about? So a lot of the methodology is about first of all, externalizing all of that stuff out of your head, writing it all down, getting out of your head what's got your attention, and then clarifying what specifically you're going to do about it, if anything. What's the next action and what's the outcome you need to keep track of until it's finished, about what this thing is that has your attention. Creating some trusted organizational system that you can park all that stuff so your brain gets to relax about those things. It did not evolve to remember or remind, prioritize, or manage relationships with more than 4 things. New cognitive science data. So it's, unfortunately, most people are using their head as their office, and it's a crappy office. Your head just doesn't manage things really well. And you'll tend to be driven by whatever's latest and loudest, as opposed to good, strategic, intuitive intelligence. So everybody listening and watching this has at some point made a list and felt better. And if you reverse engineered why that happens, nothing changed in your world except how you're engaged with your world changed. By being able to externalize all that stuff, see it from a higher or larger perspective, as opposed to having it just bang around in your brain subliminally. And so a lot of what I uncovered was the fact that, hey, clear head is the best place to operate anywhere, anytime. If 4 people jump you in a dark alley, you don't want 4,000 unprocessed emails hanging in your psyche. So as a martial artist in my 20s, I learned the value of clear space and the necessity to be able to be present and relax and focus on your breathing and all that good, mindfulness stuff, so that you could then respond to things without over or under reacting. But that's the problem most people are dealing with these days, is they're over or under reacting to what's going on. So yeah, there's a very good reason to be aware of, implement, practice the getting things done methodologies, especially in these times, because when things get crazy, and Hala, most of the legions of testimonials we've gotten over the years of people who've implemented this, they said, oh my God, when I sold my house, when I bought my house, when I had a child, when our kids left for college, when I discovered I had a life-threatening illness, oh my God, when I got promoted, when I got fired, those are the kind of times in life where that tests the mettle, that tests the strength of your self-management processes. It's when those kind of things happen. How quickly can you integrate the new situation, the new reality, recalibrate that with all the previous realities you had and commitments you had, and then refocus in a fresh way toward, okay, what do I need to do now?
Right.
So that's a very short version of a very long story, Hala, but that's kind of in a way, that's one way to describe the essence of this methodology.
Yes, I mean, I've read the book. I've read it a couple of times, honestly. And by
the way, it's a different book every time you read it, right?
You learn something new every time, and because you change and your circumstances change and everything changes. So you're right. I've been discovering many things as I read it the second time. But I mean, to my listeners now, to the viewers who joined us, this might seem a bit daunting, especially when you're talking about productivity, and we're all struggling here. We're trying to acquaint ourselves to a new way of living. I would like to spoon feed it in a bit, in a way, okay? And I really want the audience today to go and have 2-3 actions that they can take following this discussion. What would these be?
I'll give you very simple. First of all, get paper, and pen, and empty your head. Oh, I need this. We need to. Oh yeah, whatever. And basically, that's the first thing: is capture anything that potentially has your attention. And what will have your attention are the things that are, as we say, not on cruise control, if you understand what I mean by that. By cruise control, meaning it's on automatic. You're pumping your blood, you're breathing, there's a lot of stuff going on in your life that you don't have to think about because it's in process, it's in habit, there's nothing you have to change or do about that other than, what it is. But all the things that have your attention usually represent things that you need to have different or changed or something. Oh my God, I now have to work from home. but I don't have a home office, or I don't have a desk, or what do I have? Oh my God, my kids are home now, right now, as opposed to being in school. How do I manage, so, the current world has thrown a lot of people into new situations where the challenge then is to, start to identify what are those things that, are not on cruise control. I need a home office space. I need to organize my family's, logistics now, given the pandemic, whatever. Or, gee, I need tires in my car, or my tooth hurts. I need, it's all that stuff that most people have still banging around in their head. So the first step is the capture step, which is to identify, write down, get out of your head all that stuff. You don't have to prioritize it. You don't have to organize it. You don't have to clarify. You don't have to do anything with it. Just get it out.
Capture.
So that's the first step, is a capture step. Write it all down. Wherever you want to do that, however you want to do that. And then the second step, you can't just leave it there. If you leave it there, then you just got a bunch of lists stuck all over it, and that's not going to really help ultimately. It'll feel better initially, but then you need to move through step 2 and 3, which are important steps, which is to, what are you going to do about what you just wrote down? I need to set up my home office. Great. Two questions you need to answer. First of all, if you had nothing else to do but that, what would you do first? What's the next action? So the clarify step is determining if something is actionable, that is something that you have any commitment to do something about, then you need to answer 2 questions. First of all, what's the next action you need to take to resolve this, to finalize it, to fix it, to finish it? And then the second question is, will one action finish this? And if not, then what's the end result that you need to keep track of until it's done? So if that were me in this, now I haven't worked outside of home since 1981, so that's not a new thing for me. But if it is new to you, if it were new to me, then first of all, I would say, well, what's my next step? Well, I need to look into getting a desk for myself that I can work in my home space. Great. Wait, before I do that, I need to talk to my life partner about how do we organize our space. Okay. So now I got a next action called talk to partner, him or her, about how do we organize some workspace now if it's not already organized in the way I like it. Okay, so then that's a conversation you need to have. And the final result, will that one action finish this? No, it won't. What does finish mean? Well, finish means set up and get onto cruise control, essentially, a home office environment, a cockpit where I can do work that I feel comfortable, where I don't have to worry about any of that stuff. I sit here and I do my work from here. Good. Now you have an action and you have a project. Well, that's the core element, essentially, of the getting things done thought process. Outcome and action. What are you trying to do, and what does doing look like? So, what am I trying to do? I'm trying to set up this thing so that I can work in a space that I don't have to keep changing all the time or trying to recreate all the time. What's the next step? Talk to a partner about, how do we organize this, and what's the next, how do we plan and brainstorm that? So now I have an outcome and now I have an action. Now I'm more appropriately engaged with this situation as opposed to feeling the victim of it. And that, Hala, is essentially, and that's why you can teach kids this at age 8 or 9 or 7 or 8, or as soon as they can understand, how would you like the day to be? How would you like the party to be? How would you like the da-da-da-da? By the way, what do you think we need to do to make that happen? As soon as a kid can understand that, they can do this. Yep. It's just most kids are not trained to think that way. Most parents are not trained to train their kids that way, but it's not hard. All you have to do is ask those questions and wait for those answers. And then have them start to implement on that, and they'll start to experience what it's like to get things done.
And it feels so good. Your mind is like water, and that clarity in your mind. The first time I felt it is during the quarantine and the lockdown, because I got much more organized, probably because I had less to do than I used to, having been in the office and all of this. But that clarity of mind and not having anything on my list actually really annoyed me in a way. So that takes me to a question where, sometimes during conversations we get to tell each other, no, I'm busy. No, but you're not as busy as I am. So, there are people that always think that they're the busiest, or they have tons of things to do. While other people, if you take it by count or by quantity, might have more to do on their list, but they just know how to manage it properly.
Yeah, well, you can only do one thing at a time. So this is one of those, is the glass half empty or half full? Are you feeling comfortable, Hala, that talking to me right now is exactly what you need to do in your life? Or are there 422 other things you think you should be doing instead of talking to me? So as long as you feel comfortable, hey, this is exactly what I need to do, given all the other things to do, they'll all wait. This is exactly what I need to do. That allows you to be more present with what you're doing. But you can't feel comfortable about what you're not doing unless you know what you're not doing. And very few people have that inventory clear of what they're not doing right now.
Yeah. Okay. David, I think everyone wants to be productive. What do you think? Why aren't we?
Well, everybody's productive already. You're producing exactly what you're getting. So when you say everybody wants to be productive, what you're really saying is everybody wants to be more productive.
Right.
In other words, they want to be able to get more results for the energy they're putting in, or they want to be able to, not be required to produce so much energy to get what they're getting done. Either way is an increase in productivity. If you can leave work by 5 instead of 6 and still get your work done, that's productive. That's increasing your productivity. If by 6 o'clock when you leave work, you get more produced than you would have normally, that's an increase in productivity. So it's really about just, what do you want to experience? It's strange because productivity, Hala, has a bit of baggage around it as a word. Most people think of that as corporate, hard work, I'm going to have to do more, whatever. But if you go to a party to boogie and have fun and you don't boogie or have fun, that's an unproductive experience. So productivity simply says produce the experience or the thing you want. Right? If you go to a vacation to relax and you don't relax, that's unproductive vacation. So, I understand people say, I want to be more productive. Well, I would challenge anybody to say, what exactly do you mean by that? What would make you feel like you were more productive? You were able to actually watch your girl play soccer without being on your iPhone. That's a huge productivity gain for parents, right? So, yeah, anything. So what do you want to change to have different that you can do easier, more elegantly, or with greater, even physical results? Hey, I want to be able to, make, 10% more money or 20% or 50% more money than I'm making right now. It's fabulous. That would be an increase in productivity in terms of just resources you generate based upon your activities you do. So any and all of that fits into this category, but it shouldn't be just limited to make more money or do more stuff.
Right. Okay. David, let me go back to the objective of this is to actually give people some quick actions to take, right?
Okay. Sorry, I digressed.
No, I actually
write it down.
Yeah.
Decide, okay, about this, if it's something to do, what's the next action? And if one action won't finish it, what's the outcome that I need to keep track of until it's finished? So that's the clarify step. So there's the capture step first, what's got your attention. There's the clarify step, deciding if it's actionable, what's the next action and what's the outcome. Step 3, organize the results of this. Oh, that's a call I need to make. Where are you going to park that? So you're reminded of making that call when you have a phone. Oh, that's the outcome. Where are you going to park that? So you're reminded of being, of seeing that outcome on some consistent basis to see how you're doing about it. So that's then the organized step, step 3, which is basically then have some sort of a trusted system, just like your calendar, where you park reminders that you need to see at some consistent or regular basis. So you're not missing anything, and you see all your options of taking actions to move forward on things that you've got commitments about. So those are my 3 steps: is capture, clarify, and organize. There's 2 more steps to that, which, but you got to do the first 3 before you can do step 4 or 5.
All right.
Step 4 is to make sure you look at your lists. What are all the calls I need to make? What are all the errands I need to run? What are all the things I need to talk to my life partner about? What are all the projects I need to manage and maintain and keep track of? So you need to be reviewing those things once a week, at least, to be looking at the contents of your commitments and the clarified end results and actions you need to take about them. That's the reflect and review process, step 4. And step 5 is then engage. Okay, now let me make a choice. What errand do I need to run? What do I need to talk to my life partner about? What do I need to think about this project that I've got? Oh my God, there's now a next step that I need to now define because we finished 2 of those. So there's a reflection and review process, step 4, and then step 5 is then you're making trusted choices about how you engage your attention and your focus. If you've done steps 1 through 4, if you've captured, clarified, organized, and reflected on all your stuff, then when you make a choice about having a beer or taking a nap or sitting down to deal with the ugly email that's staring you in the face on your computer, that's a trusted choice, not something that you just hope is the right thing to do.
Okay, so 5 steps. Then I have something like that always comes to mind. Don't want to drown, get sucked by the day-to-day activities and forget about medium-term, long-term plans, growth, where you want to go further. You're employed, you have your own business, you want to start your own business. So all of these future plans, development and growth, where does this fit in?
Well, these days you should probably forget them or park them someplace and go, hey, when this crisis is over, now I can start to think about those things. Don't try to think about bigger stuff if your day-to-day is out of control. So get your day-to-day under control. I mean, a lot of people shouldn't be focused on their goals. They need to clean their toilet.
Right.
So come on. You need to focus on where you need to focus so that you get more clarity to be able to then focus in a clean way about the bigger stuff when it's time to think about the bigger stuff. But sometimes, you should always have the bigger stuff in mind if you've got bigger stuff there, or if you've already done that kind of thinking, or if you need to do that kind of rethinking and you think that's critical to make sure your day-to-day, is sort of lined up, then sure. You may need to have an action, to have a conversation with a partner in your life or in your personal life or your business about, hey, excuse me, where are we going? What's the worst case given the pandemic that's going on right now? What are we doing? So you may need to have a larger scale conversation, but that's very independent to each person. So, my methodology doesn't tell you, what's a little bit unique about it is it deals with where you are, not with where you should be.
Yeah.
See, a lot of people are thinking about where they should be, and then they just create guilt and frustration because they're not moving there. Right? I go, well, wait a minute. Why don't you get control of your life? Once you do that, then you'll feel much more confident to take on the bigger goals or to have more clarity in your head to think about the bigger things that might be that important to you. So I'm not saying don't think about those.
Yeah.
But they're there. And if you need to think about those in order to get a clear head, absolutely. That's the next thing you need to do.
Does this mean that the highest performance individuals, or the ones that have, achieved, and this is of course relative, but have been successful? I think there are universal definitions of success that we can assume. But does this mean that these people have mastered the GTD methodology
No, not at all.
No?
Believe me, the people most attractive that I've spent most of my time with for the last 35 years are some of the most successful people you'd ever meet by anybody's terms.
Were they in their peak of their success, or were they going up the ladder?
They just couldn't move any further.
Okay.
They hit the wall. They created more than they could handle. And so, the good news in my life is I've got to hang out and spend thousands of hours with some of the busiest, best, and brightest people you'd ever meet. Because they already know systems work. They already know that they could produce more if they had more room to be able to do that. They just don't know how to do that. So that's what this methodology does, is gives you the ability to have more space to do what you already probably know you want to do and could do if you had more room to do it.
Interesting. Okay. Going back to the takeaways that we want people to take. So we have the 5 steps. We went through it. There will be a lot on it in the book and online and on the GE website if anyone wants to really know more about it. Let's talk about the 2 minutes rule, David. It's something that interested me, so I think a lot of people will be interested. I'm seeing a lot of questions. If you can send them on the Q&A functionality so we can keep track, please. And if anyone has any question, I'm seeing some on my WhatsApp and I'm not being able to keep track, so please send them on the live under the Q&A section. Okay, so the 2 minutes rule.
Well, once you decide the next action you need to take on anything you're committed to move on, if you can do that action in less than 2 minutes, it's just a pure efficiency factor. It will take you longer to track it and organize it and review it than it would be to finish it. So it's quite simple. And I think, but the problem is most people haven't discovered or decided what the next action is. What's your next action on deciding whether you should get divorced or not? What's your next action on whether to hire vice president of marketing or finance first? What's your next action on, deciding whether to give your kids karate lessons or not? If you haven't decided that, you can't take advantage of the 2 minute rule. The 2 minute rule says, once the next action, that's a website I need to surf, I can do that in 2 minutes. That's a conversation I could have with my life partner, I can do in 2 minutes. That's a light bulb I can change in 2 minutes because I got the new bulb and there's the old bulb up there. Anybody just walking around where you live right now, I bet you could find a bunch of things you could finish or fix in 2 minutes. You'd feel a whole lot better if you actually did that, as opposed to keep being reminded, oh, I need to change that light bulb. Oh, I need to put WD-40 on that squeaking door. Oh, I need to, do X, Y, and Z. So the 2 minute rule is fabulous. A lot of people think, well, gee, would I spend my whole day doing 2 minute stuff? Why not? Your most strategic and important things many of them have less than 2 minute actions. Right? So don't think this is just about doing unimportant things, just doing anything you can do fast. And why not? And people say, would I spend my whole day doing that? I say, no, I don't spend my whole day doing that because I don't have a backlog. There are no 2 minute things in my life. Those were done. Why would you ever have a backlog of 2 minute things that should have been done already?
Yep. We have a question. Let's see. Yes, go ahead. Surely, we'll share it, inshallah, on IGTV and on our YouTube channel. What you mentioned about working with some of the most successful people is a bit of, is interesting. Is there any keystone habits that you can share with us that are common between these people?
Of course. Get it out of your head. Decide next actions on meaningful things. Keep track of the outcomes that you're committed to complete. Have a trusted system to be reminded of that. That's my message to 8-year-old kids. That's my message to CEOs of global corporations. Challenge me on that. Is there anything different that you think somebody should do other than that?
Apparently not, after 30 years of research and being recognized, all these top recognitions. I've read something that the methodology is simple. We're not really, it's what you did is you recognized it and you're trying to set it in stones in people's minds.
Well, what I did was make it more conscious. What we probably intuitively do, at the simple level of life, if you're in survival mode, you're going to be thinking about outcomes. I need to eat, I need to survive, I need to I need to handle the baby that just got born or whatever. And then what's my next step? Well, I need to change the diapers, or I need to go get some food out of the field or whatever. So, people are thinking outcome and action, on a consistent basis at the basic level. But as life got more complex, especially when knowledge work showed up, where you actually have to think. None of your email or none of the mail in your mailbox says it's junk mail, right? You have to decide that.
Yeah.
So you actually have to think. Now that you've let life come at you and you've let a lot of things come into your life, you actually have to think about what they mean and what you're going to do about them, if anything. Most people avoid that process or have not discovered exactly what that process is. So that's a lot of what I discovered was what's that process that we need to do about our more complex, intricate, subtle, sophisticated lives to be able to keep the same level of clarity and focus we had when it was just at sort of survival basic level. But, that doesn't come free. You're not born doing it. You didn't hop out of your mom and go, gee, Mom, what exactly we're trying to accomplish and what's the next step? And is that yours or mine? This is a learned behavior, essentially. When your life gets more complex, when it's not just immediate, live, eat, survive.
Right. We're getting a lot of, comments from people saying that they actually don't want to focus on the future. They just want to stick to the present. Especially that we are in exceptional situation. It's great now, as you said, a bit surprising.
Yeah, well, that's a big challenge, and I challenge everybody. What do you need to do to get your current situation under cruise control?
Yeah, you tell.
What's not on cruise control right now? Do you have a place to work? Do you have you agreements with your family or whatever in terms of everybody's at home right now? How do you manage that? What time do you need to make sure you do work? Come on. What's on your plate right now? So if I walked into anybody's life as a coach or consultant about this, I just go, well, wait, what's got your attention? What's not on cruise control right now about your life? Now, that for a lot of people, that could be some pretty big stuff, understood. But you still have to go through the same process. Okay, so what would you like to have true? Well, I'd like to feel more comfortable about how I'm handling this life-threatening illness I just discovered I have. Okay, fine. Now you got an outcome. What's your next step? Right? And that puts people back in the driver's seat. It doesn't mean it's fun or easy, Hala, or to any of you listening to this. I'm not saying life is easy. Come on, if it was easy, you'd never learn, grow, expand, or express yourself. You learn the most actually when you're stressed and when you're challenged, and then have to learn how to get beyond that. So at some point, you will look back on whatever's happened based upon this situation as something that was probably positive for you in terms of what you had to learn, how you had to change, how you had to integrate, how you had to learn flexibility, how you had to whatever it is that you're going to learn.
Yeah, the problem is that, in a lot of, countries in the world, Lebanon is one of them. A lot of people are now struggling to actually survive. So they're struggling with the big of the life. Given, the economic situation in Lebanon being, I don't know which number developed country, probably the third amongst the third developing countries. So some people here are struggling to live. And this will it will be different from a country to another when it comes to the list that they can make currently. Some people just want to find a way to really earn money and, feed their kids. Like literally, we see them. They're probably living a few meters away from the most, you want good areas in Lebanon. But, as you said, and there's a very interesting question that we got here from, I think, one of your followers. He said, would you create different folders for different companies as well and have project subfolders sorted through them? So he touched on one of the things that you discussed a lot in your book. What about folders?
Well, you need to organize data in an appropriate way so it matches what it means to you. You know, being organized simply means that where something is matches what it means to you. Trash is where trash goes. Recipes are where you keep recipes. Spices in the kitchen go where spices go. So information that's collateral information about a project or about a company just needs to go where that goes. So you need to see it when you need to see it. So when you say folder, I assume you just mean some sort of enclosed category. And that could be a digital folder, it could be a physical, file folder, whatever. So here's my David Allen BV expenses for 2020. These are just paper-based printouts of PDFs and invoices or whatever. I got a big ugly email I need to deal right now with my financial folks here in the Netherlands that they've lost track of a bunch of invoices. So good thing I've got a folder for those things. If I can go back through, it's not going to be fun, but I have to go back through and find all of those and resend them, so they get them. So it's a simple idea that you put things where they go. I have a drawer here on my right-hand side of just weird, strange electronic stuff. Everybody's got an electronics weird drawer. Wow, the thing crapped out, but the charger I might use again. Or I don't know what this thing is. I just found it, but I think it's probably important. And so you got this sort of electronic wire, charger drawer thing. Me too. That's fine. And that's where those things go. So it's not any more organized than that's where those things go in that drawer, so that they're not scattered all around my life. The problem with most people is they don't categorize what things mean to them. So they've got stuff piled up in their living room that are stuff to read, stuff to throw away, stuff that's out of date or whatever, and they've gone numb to their coffee table. So you go numb to places where you haven't actually appropriately categorized them in terms of where they are. So to his or her question, yeah, if it makes sense to you to organize information, but there's a difference between reference material that you need to refer to when you need to versus reminders about what you need to do about that thing. Those are very different categories. So if the question was about where do I put reminders about company X versus company Y, yeah, that's up to you. You just have to make sure you put them in places where you see them as appropriately as you need to, as often as you need to make sure nothing's falling through a crack. You could have 14 lists. Doesn't matter to me. I don't care.
Right. Okay, one very interesting question from a very productive person is part of the team of the channel. So people often compare activity levels to others around them, and that causes a lot of stress. How can a person feel satisfied with their productivity level?
Relax. Very simple. Relax. Why are you comparing yourself to somebody else? Well, one thing that'll solve that for everybody is just get older. See, a lot of people want to do things because they want to look good to other people, or they want to seem some way to other people. The older you get, the more you care less about that, and the more you pay attention to what matters to you.
True that. Yeah. And I think we answered Ziara. Ida is a very good friend of mine and the client, and we've been working on her coaching business as well. And she said that you might forget what's folders sometimes, and that's why we're talking about reminders. But David, do you really do it with the simple method of writing down, or do you have other tools that you would recommend?
Well, I have all kinds of tools, for different purposes, whatever. I mean, I basically have a calendar. I have a list of actions I need to take, a list of projects I need to finish. And then I have a lot of collateral and support material that sits in digital and paper-based files. That's pretty much it. What else is there? What else would you need to keep track of? And by the way, the person who said, do I need to be reminded to think about? Well, that's where the weekly review, because we talk about a regular review of your contents, your commitments, and so forth, is absolutely necessary to keep any of this alive and well, to keep your head clear. Is you need to do at least every 7 days, go through all your stuff. How some consistent review, even your filing system, even your reference system, probably once a year you need to go through and curate it, pull out all the old stuff that's no more important to you. Because a lot of stuff we keep, me too, because we think it's important now, but a year from now, oh, come on, I don't need that. So get it out of here. So keeping your systems and your cockpit essentially clean so that you can engage, with a clear head, fast and quick whenever you want, without having to rethink your system, is, that's the most productive state to operate from.
Okay, let's see if we have one more question. Soraya, which skills you think in preparation for the corona aftermath to be more productive? So which skills you think we need to build?
Just have an after pandemic list.
Okay.
Just keep track of the stuff that you want to do once this thing is over, or once the pressure is off, given what's going on right now. What are the things you need to move? And you then need to review all the current things you have and say, there's no way I can do that until that happens. And then move those over there.
Right. Interesting. I'm going to move to the next question so we don't miss any of the questions. Okay, Martin. Tips to stop people interrupting when you're focused.
Who? If it's your boss, they deserve it. If it's your life partner, they probably deserve it. Why are they interrupting you? See, there are no interruptions. They're just mismanaged inputs. If you don't need the input, stop it. If you do, it's part of your life or your commitments or whatever, then that's what it is. New stuff. See, the one organization that never has fires and crises is the fire department. They get interrupted all the time. 95% of their fire alarms are false. Talk about a reason to be pissed off. It's like, oh my God, that was another alarm. Oh, it's probably not real. They don't do that. They're built to deal with interruption. They're built to deal with surprise. They're built to deal with new inputs that they have to then reconfigure whatever it is. So you have to ask yourself, why do you think somebody's interrupting you? Is it?
Yeah, and probably take the reason away, probably, or
either stop it, call, hey, send me an email about that. Thank you very much. Or could you write a note, put that in my basket? Thank you. At some point, they'll discover that the system is better than face-to-face. So, again, it helps a lot when people around you sort of get this methodology. My wife and I email each other, and she's just sitting right over there.
You do that.
I don't want to interrupt her. Why should I? Why should I force her to make a decision about something that she may have a very different mindset right now and she's working on something else? That's totally inconsiderate. Right? So I put the email in there so she can deal with that in her own timing, make her own decisions about it, think about it as she might want to think about it, as opposed to interrupting her. But believe me, the world is just full of interruptitis about people because they don't manage systems. They don't manage their stuff. Sorry, I'm 74 and kind of old and cranky right now, but you ask.
Of course, you're getting the best. Okay, Rilla, let's see, another question. How do you prioritize so you don't get overwhelmed?
I decide what's most got my attention right now that gets me back to present again. And I work on that. Sometimes that's take a nap. Sometimes that's have a beer or a glass of wine. Sometimes that's, okay, let me tackle this thing I committed to do that's going to take thinking and some energy to do. Sometimes it's what's the most fun. Sometimes it's what's the hardest thing, so I can then sort of relax and sort of give myself treats for the rest of the day.
Battery issues, sorry. Okay. And you do mention, you do have a nice quote that I picked up today on the website about if you don't pay appropriate attention to what has your attention, it will take more of your attention than what it deserves. So a very interesting quote.
Well, as soon as you think I need cat food more than once, you are inappropriately engaged with your cat. And cat food will pop into your mind at 3 o'clock in the morning, just like I need to write a business plan. They take up the same space in your head. So the reason to pay attention to even the little dorky, strange stuff in your life is because if you're going to do them anyway or need to, they're going to take up a lot more energy space than they should.
True. David, I don't want to take more of your time. Thank you so much. Is there anything you'd like to close with? Any tip? Anything that you'd like to give the people in the Middle East a bit of advice on?
Hang in there, guys. We all assume there's going to be a better world. You need to sort of take advantage of, one of my strange tips is to deal with the worst scenario. Can you handle it no matter how bad it gets? The reason for doing that is because if you don't do that, subliminally, there's a part of you that keeps being afraid of that. And so you need to look at it, go through it, and say, I can deal with it, then allow yourself the freedom to think about wild success. So, a vision of wild success, an acceptance of potential current reality, where it may go, and then shoot down the middle. That's one of the best things. And your head's for having ideas, not for holding them. That's just one of my major mantras, out there. Go.
Thank you so much for all the amazing tips that you give really to people. Very valuable. Thank you for your time, and hopefully we'll talk or meet up again in better circumstances very soon. Thank you so much, David.
Thanks, Hala. Thanks for the invitation.
You take care. Bye.
Thanks to all of you. Yes.
Thank you. Bye, David. Bye.